Hello and welcome back. This is episode two. I can't believe I have actually made it to episode two of this podcast. So, if you watched episode one, I mostly just rambled a lot because I did not plan at all what I was going to say. But I chose to do something that I am currently working on, which is choosing the path of most resistance. So at the time I sat down to record the podcast, I didn't necessarily want to do it. I had all of these different reasons in my head as to why to not do it. And I decided to choose the path of most resistance and do it. Now, the path of most resistance came from an email that I sent out that very day. I sent out an email on my mailing list. I will leave a link below to sign up to that. And I spoke about this concept of the path of most resistance because inside of spiritual spaces, not just spiritual spaces, but people who are more inclined to the magic of life, we can begin to hear phrases and terms that have a very in depth meaning, but we start to attach to them from a more wounded place. And there is a very common phrase amongst like the world of law of attraction and different things of follow the path of least resistance. Now, whilst I understand the meaning of that on a deeper layer and level, it is one of the terms that I myself in the past have definitely used as a way to avoid hard work. So obviously the path of least resistance is intended to be the path where you are most led by your heart and your soul, the path of least resistance being the direction that feels like your true purpose. But what I have found is your true purpose comes with a lot of resistance because it is our purpose that evolves us as human beings. And whatever that purpose is, the purpose isn't always that big. I found with working with a lot of people. Well, it's always big, but what I mean is everybody's always searching for their purpose, and your purpose ultimately is to just be you, and just that is met with so much resistance. So in expanding upon that, you may have seen on my Instagram, if you don't follow me, you definitely should. It's at Rebecca Margaret _. I have started a series called The Path of Most Resistance to Build the Most Confident You. I think I might just change it to the Confident You series. And it is based upon a concept that ripples through all of my work in building your confidence as a woman, and how choosing the path of most resistance is actually going to build your confidence rather than the path of least resistance on a day to day. So I'm going to be documenting and sharing my journey with choosing the path of most resistance as I step into the next evolution of my life. And I'm in a position in my life right now where I've done a hell of a lot of work on myself, particularly in the past 2 years, and it would be very easy for me to just sort of say, well, I'm okay, and this is it, and I deserve this, and I deserve that, and let's just not do that. But the truth is, what I have started to learn through collecting data about myself is when I do the things that I say that I'm going to do, and when I do the things that are ultimately good for me, I feel better and I feel more confident the next day. And when I feel more confident, I'm a better person. I'm a better partner. I'm a better daughter. I'm a better mentor. I'm a better coach. Because that feeling of being confident is almost the most embodied version of me. So just to give you an example, we often think that confidence is directly related to the way that we look, or that some people just have confidence and some people don't. And we don't really always recognize the things that are eroding our confidence. And one of those things is not doing the things that you say that you're going to do, or living an incongruent life, or living in a way that isn't aligned to your values or your standards, or ultimately having no standards, and we don't recognize quite often the things that can be damaging to our confidence, such as going to bed late, staying up, scrolling on your phone, snoozing the alarm when you want to wake up in the morning, not preparing your stuff the day before for the night after, spending your money recklessly without really any care and consideration for the energetic aspect of that, treating your relationships and friendships recklessly. Just sort of living this Groundhog Day style life, which has never been my style in particular, to be honest. I need to get more Groundhog style. Now, when I say groundhog, I haven't actually seen the movie. I don't mean like repetitive, I just mean getting through the day and not really bringing that true presence and awareness to it in order to evolve. And I spoke in the first podcast about how I truly believe one of our biggest purposes as human beings is to evolve, and we've got this culture now that has kind of convinced us that in some way to want to grow or evolve is wrong, particularly for women. It's really hammered in, particularly on social media, about rest and being in your feminine, which is like I'm something that I'm all for, but rest is not things that are detrimental to your health. I don't think many people who are singing the song of that message are actually taking time out to intentionally rest. So we read it and we think, oh, I deserve this. And actually, what we do is we abandon the life that we truly do deserve. I'm not talking about by resting, you abandon the life you truly deserve, but by choosing the path of least resistance in moment to moment, by choosing the easier traits, you give up on the path and the life that you do actually deserve, which is one where you are very confident, one where you are very abundant, and one where you are, happy and content and living peacefully. It doesn't mean that hard things don't come, but we are, there's a baseline that feels safe. And when we continuously choose the other side of what I want to move into today, and this is going to go into the next aspect of my content as well, is, I spoke about how it is our ego and our shadows that resist the path of most resistance. So if you want to make a change in your life, it is the ego that is going to present and say no. It is the shadows that are going to stop you from doing that. And the shadows, I go much deeper into this inside of my courses if you wanted to work with me a little bit deeper. But our shadows are essentially the parts of ourselves that we have pushed away, we've hidden like into the darkness. And they thrive in the shadows, they're comfortable in the shadows. The ego, many, many layers to it, but part of it is it's like your protective shell, it doesn't really like change. So the easy choices require very little introspection. When we just go with the flow, not really going with the flow, and don't have to question our motives or confront our fears or challenge deeply held beliefs, our shadows can remain very comfortably tucked away. Our comfort zones are a haven for shadows. So staying in your comfort zones means that you get to avoid situations that might trigger uncomfortable emotions or force you to confront the things that you would rather not see. So a lot of my approach to shadow work isn't just about, journeying backwards and looking at like what's going on here. It's like, let's look at the here and now of your blind spots and the stuff that you don't want to see. Now, when we are living a life that is coordinated by us, that feels super safe, super non-resistance, and just flowing through, choosing the easy thing, not hoovering the floor, just as an example, not choosing to go to the gym, not choosing to share your voice, not choosing to have the hard conversation, not choosing to I don't know, paint the wall, whatever it is. Like, I'm talking about the small day-to-day things. It is easier in so many more ways than just actually choosing that easy option right there and then because you feel you deserve rest. But when you choose to do the thing where there is resistance, for example, maybe having a hard conversation, speaking your truth, picking up the hoover, washing the dishes, making sure that you make your bed every morning, like whatever it may be, you're going to meet with very many different parts of yourself that are going to be resistant to your path and your purpose. And it is then working with those parts of yourself that is going to allow for your evolution. And that really is what we do inside of my signature course, which I'm actually renaming soon, which I'm very, very excited about. But the path of most resistance, so the things that we don't want to do. I used to get really caught up on this, very like a lot of like, but I just don't want to do it, and I just don't feel like doing it. And especially then when you move in spiritual circles and spiritual spaces, it's like you can really get off the hook on doing things. For example, my purpose, very much a big part of my purpose, is to build confidence in women, to empower women, to put them onto their path of their purpose, to support them in showing up online in order that they can spread their message and their magic. Do I love using technology? No. So for a long time in my journey, I was like, it's not my thing. That's not my path. Don't love it. Follow the path of least resistance. Okay, there's least resistance when I close my laptop, when I shut it down, when I don't have to worry about the technical issues of lighting and all these different online things. I'm getting older now and away from. We learnt computers on a giant big computer, so that's the kind of thing that I need. And these are the things that cause a huge detriment. And we often think that these issues and problems that we have are like super unique. And it's like, it's just me. And why can't I do this stuff? And is there something wrong with my brain? Like, I feel like you'll be nodding along to that. Like, yep, I've said that about myself. And it's like, yeah, maybe your brain is all fucked up because, we grew up on TV and sugar, maybe. So it is about now choosing, and we actually live in a world and a society that thrives off of our primal instincts. And if you are choosing to be a more conscious and evolved human being, you have to start to work against those things. So naturally, your body wants to choose. We're all lazy, we're going to choose to reserve energy. We're lazy. We're going to look for energy and sugar all of the time. We're going to look for the easiest food source. We're going to look for the way to reserve energy. Like, naturally, that's the way that we are inherently built as animals and primally. But when we start to think about living a life more on a soul level and a consciousness level, it's like we can't just surrender into that. And it doesn't mean ignore your body, but most people who are actually choosing the path of least resistance are ignoring their body and not listening to the signals and signs that the body is given in order of wanting to advance. So when you choose the path of most resistance and choose to challenge yourself and your beliefs, you are forced to confront the self-sabotaging patterns. And you start to see the ways in which your shadows have been holding you back. So something I say all the time when I work with my one-to-one clients is, we have all these times, like they might have a mentorship session with me, they might do courses, they might go and do things like medicine ceremonies, breath work, meditation, all of these different things, and therapy, whatever it may be. And they are like a small amount of time in your day or in your life. If you go to therapy once a week, it's an hour out of your week. I can't do the maths right now, 24/7, take away 1 hour. There's a lot of other hours. So in moment to moments, when you're listening to the podcast or you're doing the thing or you're doing the breath work, that's like your rehearsal. And when you're in the rest of your life, that's the play, that's the theatre. That's when you really get to show how good your rehearsals have been. But we often neglect the other 95% for the sake of that 5% and put in this very like bare minimum effort into making change, and then get really frustrated as to why these, spiritual concepts are not working inside of our life, because it's like, well, I thought it was meant to be like this, but it's like that. Again, something I go into deeper inside of my signature course. So the harder the path is, it requires us to ask tough questions, to dig deep and to understand the why behind our choices. And we live in this unfortunate state in the world at the moment where what we see as like a healthy person is actually just a person living very normally. Somebody eats 3 meals a day, goes for walks, whatever it may be, the bare minimum stuff that we need in order to survive as a human being. We actually like sort of think like, whoa, that's like a super healthy person. And the level of resistance that we have to looking after ourselves starts to actually really, there's such deeper layers behind it all. And obviously I can't go into it within this podcast, but what I want to invite to you If you follow me, or if you're already following me, maybe just like pop on the notifications to see the things. And I want you to start thinking about this concept of following the path of most resistance, because I was having a conversation with a one-to-one client yesterday, and we were talking. I've had this conversation a lot recently with one-to-one clients about how we say you deserve it when it comes to like abandoning your work, or not going to the gym, or you know eating that meal that's not in alignment with the way that you want to be eating. And people will really lay it on thick and heavy and say, you really you deserve it, you deserve it. I want to say to you, I feel like you deserve to find the person on the other side of the path of most resistance. I feel like you deserve to start showing up for yourself and showing yourself that you are somebody who deserves love. So that's what I feel like you deserve. And I want you to start showing up in that way. And that's why I wanted to start to share this Confident Me series, following the path of most resistance. You are going to start to get to see parts of yourself. You will sit and you will be like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do it? And all of that. And obviously, the deeper aspects of that we do go into within the course. But if you just allow yourself to keep choosing the path of most resistance, you will build your confidence in yourself, and you will get to see and learn a lot about yourself. So I still haven't chosen a name for the podcast. I might call it The Path of Most Resistance. I got some feedback off a couple of people, but I would love more feedback, more insight. Quite a few people listened to the last one, but I definitely didn't hear from everyone. I'm very aware that sometimes people are hesitant to reach out, but I love, love, love hearing from people and hearing your insights. So please do fire over any messages, insight, or questions, and follow along with the series on Instagram. So that's me wrapping up session number 2 for the Unnamed podcast. And I will see you in the next episode. This is where I should play some music going out. Ding, 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 ding.